logs that are burning. We got them going pretty nicely. So
now you'll remember some footage a little bit earlier we took when the fire was being lit, and it looks a little different now. It's kind of hard to get a close-up shot of this because this is actually pretty warm.
It is hot, yeah, right. And our steam pressure began this morning just at the needle on 1 notch. That would be 10 pounds per square inch, and we're now moving up toward 20. So we're stepping right along here. Well, now it's getting very pleasantly warm.
Yes, it's nice out here.
You hear the crackling and popping in the firebox.
Uh-huh.
We got to keep the fire going now. As soon as I could get air into that fire, I was able to put on coal, which did start pretty promptly.
Welcome back, and we're here with
Ronald Bailey. I'm the president of Historic Red Clay Valley Incorporated, which owns and operates the Wilmington and Western. Today I'm working as a locomotive engineer.
And that's got to be a rather unique position, since this isn't a normal locomotive like we would think of the ones running down the tracks crossing the country. This is actually a locomotive from 1909.
That's correct. It's an early 20th century locomotive built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in Philadelphia. And a lot of what you have to know about operating one of these as a steam engineer deals with the boilers and things of that nature that you don't have on modern diesel electrics. But actually operating the train is pretty much the same. We operate on the same rules on this railroad as, for instance, engineers on CSX do. We're regulated by the Federal Railroad Administration. We have to have licenses just like engineers on Amtrak or CSX.
And I noticed this morning, now I got here rather early because you pulled this engine out about 7 o'clock this morning, and it takes 3 or 4 hours to get it ready. And you know, you're not just turning the switch, but you were out here with a grease gun, and now you've got a big oil can with you.
Right.
And it takes a while to get this engine prepped for the folks to be able to ride it.
That's correct, and that was fairly typical with steam locomotives. In fact, that's probably the major reason why steam locomotives aren't used today, is they're very labor intensive. Every time they would come in from a run, somebody would have to go over them, oil them, clean the fire, replenish the coal, all these types of things that we're doing this morning. And you don't have to do that with a diesel electric locomotive. So the labor savings is what really made the difference and why railroads switched over to diesel electric instead of steam.
But fortunately for us, especially in this area, we still have steam, and this is part of an ongoing series. You're actually going to see Engine 98, which is in the process of being restored, and we've got some footage that Paul Richardson and I took about 31 years ago. You'll actually see it riding the tracks on the Wilmington Western, and that goes to the other part of the story. A lot of things have happened to the Wilmington Western over the years, but the storm that came through last year and devastated the community of Glenville also devastated a lot of historical places in this area, and the Wilmington Western was very hard hit by this storm.
That's correct. The Wilmington Western was built in 1872, and it was built from downtown Wilmington up into Pennsylvania. And the reason it was built right along the creek is at that time, in the mid-19th century, all the industries were located along the creek because they used water for powering the mills and the different industries. So the railroad was built to service those industries. And today it's a very beautiful ride. It's one of the most scenic rides, train rides you can take in the eastern United States. Unfortunately, when we had the heavy rains on September 15th, a number of our trestles were either completely destroyed or very severely damaged. So we've got a major rebuilding job to do.
And right now I understand you get up as far as Brandywine Springs on the trip, but in the next couple months that's liable to change a little.
That's correct. We're going to be continuing to replace track and get bridges back into service. The bridge at Brandywine Springs survived the flood, but it has some foundation damage, and so we need to repair the foundation before we start running trains over it, but we'll do that very shortly.
And what brought you to operating a steam engine? What motivated you? What was that's not something that you normally would think of, I think. I've always been fascinated with them, but I mean, it's a lot of work.
Well, a lot of my business associates and friends ask me if I play golf, and I say, no, I don't play golf, I shovel coal, which gives me some strange looks. But basically I'm fascinated with steam locomotives and with railroads and with railroad history. This is an opportunity to do two things. Number one, to learn the technique and the technology of the steam locomotive, and also to preserve something that is of tremendous historic significance.
Well, we're very happy that you and this entire group, the Wilmington Western Historic Red Clay Valley, that you're here and you're putting this time in, because this is volunteer time.
That's correct. All our trains are operated by volunteers. I'm a volunteer. The fireman up in the cab is also a volunteer. In a couple hours, the train crew will be coming on duty. They're also all volunteers. And the reason we volunteer is that we're saving something so that people can see what the heritage, what the history of this area of Delaware and specifically railroads were. Without this type of effort, we wouldn't be able to see these things.
Well,
it's like it came to life.
Our program anyway, we want to thank you for all the time that you and the folks have put in, because this is important to preserve our history.
You ever see a train movie where there is a steam locomotive?
There we are today. So
the authentic
with
sound
that,
is
stay
the sound
tuned.
of
We'll
this
have
air
more
pump.
of this segment.
When you hear that, you know it's real.
the steam locomotive after we got it up to full pressure, and that involves clearing out all the water that's condensed in the locomotive cylinders overnight. And so we run it back and forth a few times with the cylinder cocks open and drain all the water out, make sure that we just have steam in the steam lines.